It's safe to say that 2023 was a year Disney would rather forget. After a series of box office flops, fans dubbed it the flop era. By 2024, hopes of bouncing back were slim, with Bob Iger and Disney's execs scrambling to salvage their reputation. Marvel Studios, once a powerhouse of K after hit, was starting to lose its appeal as fans grew tired of storylines that felt more focused on ticking diversity and inclusivity boxes than delivering the quality, character-driven narratives that initially made the MCU a global sensation. And in the middle of all this chaos, Ryan Reynolds, who plays the fan-favorite Deadpool, stepped up, refusing to let Disney's agenda derail his vision. Reynolds, along with his longtime collaborator and Deadpool 3 director, Sean Levy, went head-to-head with Disney execs, making it clear that Deadpool 3 was going to be their movie. There would be no bending to studio demands or corporate interference. They laid down an ultimatum. It was their way or the highway. Disney, realizing that Deadpool 3 could be a much-needed win, backed down, allowing Reynolds and Levy to maintain creative control. It was a power move, but one that set the stage for a wave of drama that would soon engulf the MCU and drag She-Hulk actress Tatiana Maslany into the fray. Marvel's DEI push has been divisive, and while representation is undoubtedly important, Marvel's approach has often felt more like pandering than genuine inclusion, leaving fans underwhelmed and frustrated. Characters like Captain Marvel and Ms. Marvel haven't resonated with audiences, and She-Hulk, a Disney Plus series fronted by Maslany, was met with particularly harsh reviews. In the aftermath, Disney wanted to include She-Hulk in some capacity in upcoming Avengers projects, hoping to redeem the character by giving her a bigger role within the MCU. But Reynolds wasn't on board. He reportedly outright refused to work on the upcoming Avengers Doomsday movie if She-Hulk was given any sort of lead or significant role. He knew the stakes and was unwilling to risk Deadpool's success by letting a character from a critically panned series share the screen. Maslany, feeling snubbed, took the decision as a personal affront and went public, accusing Reynolds of misogyny. According to her, his refusal to include She-Hulk in Deadpool 3 and other projects was motivated by sexism. But fans weren't buying it. They knew Reynolds wasn't against working with strong female characters. His support for Cassandra Nova in Deadpool alongside Wolverine was proof of that. For Reynolds, it wasn't about Maslany's gender. It was about the failure of her show and the potential risk her character posed to Deadpool's success. The situation escalated when Reynolds reportedly took matters into his own hands. He managed to have scenes featuring She-Hulk cut from Deadpool 3 and persuaded Disney to scrap all plans for her return in Avengers Secret Wars. The decision sent shockwaves through Marvel, with Kevin Feige himself pushing back, determined to keep She-Hulk in the MCU. Feige's persistence shows just how deeply Marvel has committed to certain storylines and characters despite audience response. But Reynolds isn't about to let Deadpool get swept into the same pitfalls. He's made his stance crystal clear, and fans respect him for standing his ground. Maslany didn't take the outcome lightly. She doubled down on her accusations, continuing to throw shade at Reynolds in interviews. But to fans, her attempts to portray herself as the victim rang hollow. Her show had failed to connect with audiences, and her approach seemed more like deflection than a legitimate grievance. The She-Hulk series had been riddled with issues from the start. Critics panned it as poorly written and ill-conceived, and Marvel's use of forced humor and fourth-wall breaks felt jarring, especially when compared to Reynolds' expertly executed Deadpool style. Maslany's attempt to shift the blame for her show's failure onto Reynolds and the fanbase seemed disingenuous. This drama only deepened when Disney's execs finally began to see the writing on the wall. They started to recognize that characters like She-Hulk, Captain Marvel, Ms. Marvel, and Ironheart were simply not resonating with audiences. These characters, introduced with high hopes, weren't generating the fan loyalty or box office returns Disney had banked on, and now they were being quietly sidelined. For Reynolds, it was validation. His insistence on keeping Deadpool untouched by Marvel's recent stumbles was proving to be a smart move, one that highlighted his understanding of what audiences actually wanted. Reynolds' savvy negotiating skills were now on full display. Disney had initially hoped he'd toe the line, conforming to their vision, but they quickly realized that they were dealing with an actor and producer who wasn't about to let his character's legacy get compromised. With Deadpool, Reynolds had found a formula that worked: one built on fan-driven humor, irreverence, and a deep respect for the source material. He wasn't about to risk that winning formula for the sake of appeasing Disney's push for inclusivity, especially when it felt forced and didn't align with what fans wanted. In contrast, Maslany's approach only seemed to alienate her further from the fanbase. Her accusations against Reynolds and Marvel fans came across as a deflection from her own show's failings. As one of Disney's top executives, Feige's ongoing attempts to keep She-Hulk relevant illustrate just how far Marvel was willing to go to stand by these new characters. But Reynolds' refusal to compromise sent a clear message to both fans and Disney. Deadpool would remain true to itself, freed from Marvel's current pitfalls. It wasn't just about Reynolds preserving Deadpool's legacy. His firm stance was a refreshing change in Hollywood, where actors and creatives often have to play by the studio's rules. Disney had hoped to control the direction of Deadpool by pushing for characters that aligned with their current vision. But Reynolds showed them that he was willing to walk away if that meant preserving what fans loved about his character. The ongoing feud between Maslany and Reynolds represents more than just a personal clash. It's emblematic of the wider issues plaguing Disney and Marvel. While Maslany remains vocal about her grievances, Reynolds is already moving forward, preparing for a Deadpool project that fans are eagerly anticipating. Meanwhile, Disney is left juggling its DEI commitments with the reality of declining viewership and engagement. Marvel's struggle to balance representation with storytelling is becoming more apparent, and Disney's realization that some characters may be better off-shelved reflects a shift in their approach to the MCU. Reynolds has become a fan favorite not only for his portrayal of Deadpool, but also for standing firm against a studio giant in defense of what fans actually want. He's demonstrated that sometimes, to protect what makes a character great, you have to stand up to the very system that created it. And with fans rallying behind him, it's clear that he's made the right call. Whether Marvel's approach will shift remains to be seen. But one thing is certain, Deadpool and Reynolds aren't going anywhere, and they're doing it on their terms.